Welcome to episode 12 of The Rational Homer. I am your host, Kyle. On the week of June 21st, the U.S. Open was this past weekend, and I'm sure Andy has much to discuss, in addition to an Iowa basketball player making having his name called in the NBA draft on Tuesday. The Cubs are doing much of the same. The Pete Krill Armstrong remains hot, so I will give baseball a week off and touch more on it again next week. Welcome back, Andy. It was a very interesting U.S. Open on Sunday as Wyndham Clark was leading from start to finish, but Sunday did get interesting a little bit. What did you think of the finish?
Yeah, I was glad that it ended up being more exciting than the beginning of the day when there was a major lead for Clark, and obviously he stumbled a bit early. Plus, Sam Burns was on fire early on, and he played really well, obviously. I wanted anyone but Wyndham. I'll admit that. I definitely wanted Sam Burns because he blew it last year, and he had a bunch of chances down the stretch yesterday. He just couldn't make couple putts when he needed to, and you could tell it was killing him. But credit to Wyndham because he obviously has been playing well and he had a really good week. He was always ahead of everyone, so I'm not going to take it away from him when he was the best player out there. I was hoping Scotty would make a little push, just didn't quite have it, but it was entertaining as always. I was surprised. I think like everyone that the course played hard, but I thought they were going to try to make it even harder. But still way harder than a normal tournament. So I wasn't really complaining much there.
Yeah, Wyndham got out to that early 6-under lead, and you knew it wasn't going to stay there with the course they were playing on in New York and Shinnecock, and I'm kind of surprised he even -4 or 4-under won it, just because of kind of how the history of this course, and I expected Wyndham to regress a bit more than he did, and he didn't really regress until Sunday when it finally got him a little bit, and he should have shot 3-over for the day, but still, beat Sam Burns by a stroke.
Right, and I think his 3-over was definitely some nerves too, with being the leader and everything. But yeah, it did play harder on the weekend. I think the first day is where it played quite a bit easier than they were hoping because the weather wasn't quite as bad as they thought. But that's just kind of golf for you.
Yeah, and what's your reasoning behind you didn't want Wyndham to win?
He's just kind of like a hothead, and he's just like not a huge reason, but more just like when you don't really like someone and you just
Yeah.
your take on him. You know what I mean?
He destroyed what was it, a locker last year at the U.S.
Right.
Open, was it?
He
Yeah.
destroyed the locker room. Yeah. Just like I don't mind when people get intense and get like really mad, but at the same time, as a pro, there's got to be some level of like professionalism.
Speaking of intense, Jacqueline Neiman had a bit of an outburst on, what was it, Thursday? And costed him a couple strokes.
Yep, 2-stroke penalty. Although I didn't ever see the video of that. Did they ever come out with one?
I'm not sure if they did, but I did see people asking him on Sunday. For some reason they said it costed him 7 strokes, which I'm not sure how they got that assessment. But he said, well, if you would have had those 7 strokes on in the opening round for your tirade, you would have won the tournament. He was like, well, it doesn't work like that. He had some quote about his grandma or something. It was pretty funny. So,
Right.
it's
It's like I feel like the media does that, but yeah, it's like ifs and buts.
yeah, and
I just think it
there's
was hilarious that he like freaked out apparently, and I wish we could have gotten a video.
well, he threw a club, right? That was the
Yeah.
reason why he was mainly assessed. But it seemed like there was a lot of outbursts this weekend. John Rahm, swearing a little bit loudly. There seemed to be a couple other things.
Right.
I haven't.
I think the guys who are the hotheads are the ones that this happened to, but at the same time, just shows they're at a course that's just so frustrating that some of them just can't help it.
Yeah, and what do you think of the fans on Sunday? It seemed like they were a bit more rowdy than usual.
Yeah, I was a little surprised it got that intense, especially considering it was like basically cheering against an American. I know that happens, but I think some of the stuff they were saying, even if like you don't like a player, it just seemed like, I can see people saying it more in like a team sport, But against an individual, when you're just like actively rooting, like miss this putt or like go in the bunker, I don't think I personally could do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, a couple people got kicked out from what I read, which is
Right.
kind of funny to me that, you would go to the extent of crossing the line so much you get kicked out, or saying it so often, following a particular player, you get kicked out of the tournament as a spectator.
It's just like at the end of the day, like you're an adult. Like, is that really necessary? I think you can make like comments that aren't necessarily positive, but yeah.
Yeah, there becomes a point where the player can kind of laugh it off, but then there becomes a point where, like, the officials have to step in and do something.
Right, exactly.
But then some other impressive performances was I was surprised by a couple of the amateurs that did well. I mean, they didn't do well, but they finished, on the top. Made it to Sunday. Jackson Kulian and Ryder Talent both finished ahead of Roy McIlroy, who finished at 6 over. Roy had a tough, kind of a so-so tournament. He was never really in it, per se. Um, and then Sunday, he ended up shooting 3 over and ended up at 6 over for the tournament.
Right. Roy just wasn't his week. I think he made a few birdies down the stretch to like salvage the 6 over, which is not ideal. But the amateurs, they were impressive because, yeah, they weren't really close to winning, but to just shoot that well at a US Open, they're like that. Jackson Coiven, he's about to turn pro now, and you can tell why. He's like been one of the best amateurs for a while now. And Miles Russell even had a good tournament, made the cut, 17 years old, about to go to college. And then, yeah, that Cowan, I think he goes to Oklahoma. He was under par for a while early on. So, I mean, it was an impressive showing. I always like watching the amateurs too.
Yeah, and wasn't Russell the one that let his father caddy the final hole of the
Yeah, that
tournament
was
for him?
cool. Yep.
I mean, for him to have being an amateur out there, I'm sure nervous as all get out, to be able to ask the rules committee, hey, can my father do the final hole? That was a pretty special moment, I feel like.
Right. Like his dad probably wasn't expecting it. He didn't need to do that. Like you said, he's young, probably doesn't want to rock the boat, but that was cool.
And let's see, other people, let's see, gonna scroll down a bit here. A little bit more, a little bit more. There he is.
Okay,
Jordan
okay,
Spieth
okay.
finished at 10 over, tied for 56. He definitely had a rough weekend.
To say the
Any
least.
thought? Yeah, any thoughts on Mr. Spieth? And I'm sure you were following him throughout the week.
So basically, if he make a putter change, then it's going to be tough for me to follow him seriously. Let's just say that at this point. On Sunday, I think he missed like, or I don't know if it was just Sunday alone or maybe the weekend, he missed 18 putts inside 15 feet. Like for a pro golfer, I mean, like amateurs don't even do that in like 36 holes. So everyone who follows him like I do is calling for a putter change. And we have been actually a while. So I'm just like, if he doesn't the rest of the year, he's fifth. I think he's like 50th in FedEx. So he's not going to make it all the way to the end of the FedEx playoffs unless he just miraculously does something that he hasn't done all year. But anyway, if you keep doing this and you don't make changes, like at some point, what do you expect, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be much of the same, I feel like, for Jordan Spieth in the play-in if he doesn't at least attempt. And he's mentioned, using, a mallet putter or whatever it is, and he just doesn't see the point in doing that. And it's like, well, what you're doing now obviously isn't working. So
And it's
why
not
not?
close to working. Like, what are you doing? Like, it can't get any worse.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I understand not wanting to change mid-season, but at the same time, what's the harm in doing that? If it improves your score, and if it doesn't improve your score, that's not really going to be much different than what you're doing right now.
Exactly. And with like the advanced stats of golf these days, they like his strokes gained off the tee and on the approach are all like, I mean, you could say elite or just like top tier, which means if you're putting even at average, you're going to be in a lot of tournaments. Well, he's not even putting at
Yeah.
average. So it's like, if you're having a good year everywhere else, you might as well just try something because
Well,
you're missing a lot of opportunity.
well, yeah, and I think that's also what makes golf so unique is in order to be a top tier golfer, you have to be good at all three phases. You have to be good at your drive, your approach shot, and your putting. And right now, I mean, Spieth may be doing great at two of them, but without that putting, he's never really going to be in contention come Sunday, I feel like.
Right, and that's been his whole year. He keeps saying the game's in a good spot, in a good spot. It's like, I'm sure when you're practicing, you're making putts and you're hitting the fairway and you're hitting good approach shots. But if you're getting into the tournaments and one of those is completely going by the wayside, you might need to consider switching something up. And so that's why, I love Spieth more than anyone, but at some point it's hard to take someone seriously if they're not willing to like change whatsoever. Especially when he was winning the majors and other tournaments, he was the best putter in the world and it wasn't close. It's like that's not like if you think you can just keep using the same putter or something and then get back to form, it's just like insanity. And I'm kind of getting worn down by it, which I hate to say because
Yeah.
he's my guy.
Yeah, I mean, if you think you're going to be able to do the same repetition and think, well, eventually it's going to figure itself out. No, that's not really going to work with putting. You have to figure it out. And maybe you need to adopt the Happy Gilmore, hockey stick strategy putter.
Right.
I'm not really sure, but I think we both agree you need to change.
Right, and even like people always point to Scotty, like he went to the mallet, the TaylorMade Spider, and he was never a mallet guy, but his putting was just terrible for how good he was hitting the ball. And then he makes that change. This is a couple, 2, 3, 4 years ago now, and look what happened. So it's like I don't know, it's just frustrating when you feel like other greats are doing it and there's just no sign of it.
Yeah, and moving on from good old Mr. Speaks, I'm sure he'll make it up on a podcast again in the future. My
Of
favorite to win,
course.
my favorite I wanted to win, Justin Rose, did shoot two over, and he tied for 11th. He was playing with Spieth on Thursday and Friday, and he
Yeah.
looked okay. Wasn't too bad, but just never really seemed like he was in contention either. Just kind of, was playing defense a lot, played for pars a lot, and that makes it hard to be in contention with a guy like Mr. Clark, who was 6 over to start or 6 under to start the tournament.
Yeah, Rose, like you said, he was playing solid. He was just kind of grinding just to stay in a spot that was not really in contention for the lead, but like better than the average. So, and he struggled at the US Open. Like he's missed a lot of cuts and they were mentioning that, but he ultimately had a pretty strong tournament. It just, yeah, couldn't quite get like at the point where he had a legit shot.
Yeah, kind of get that extra oomph he needed to maybe get that little adrenaline rush
Exactly.
for his age to keep up with the younger generation.
Right.
But I think we've done enough talk on the U.S. Open. Let's shift our focus to the NBA draft that is taking place on Tuesday night. Iowa has a person that's projected to go in the first round, even though I'm not sure you can really call him an Iowa guy because he's only was at Iowa 1 year. But, we'll give it to Iowa. Bennett Stirtz is projected to go somewhere between probably, I'd say, 16 to 21 maybe. The last I saw is projected to either go to the Toronto Raptors or the Oklahoma City Thunder. And what are your thoughts on Sturts for tomorrow night?
I think that I'm hoping we get the Hawkeye. Of course, he's a Hawkeye in the top 20. And just for optics, I feel like some of the mock drafts I've been seeing over the last couple of weeks, he was starting to be like low to mid 20s, which obviously any first rounder is good and good publicity. But originally, when they were talking like possible lottery, I don't think that's going to happen anymore. But still, to have a first rounder, point guard, McCollum's specialty, especially when I was in on a couple really good point guard recruits, I just hope that he doesn't slide at all, kind of like you always do with any of your
Yeah.
like college guys you like, football or basketball.
And then I would be interested to see him go to OKC, but I think my fear with him going to OKC is he would get ruined a bit with how they kind of teach basketball now, with trying to draw fouls and things like that.
Right. And I kind of think he plays like Shea does, like not nearly as good. So I guess that'd be a good spot to be mentored, but I don't know that that would be his best landing spot. But we'll see.
Yeah, and then on the others for Iowa State, we have Joshua Jefferson, who is looking probably be end of first round. I would say more likely early second round pick. always, as Fran Fraschilla called him, the mini George Niang. I don't really know what to expect of him in the NBA, but I also didn't expect George Niang to have the NBA career he did. And I do think Jefferson is a little bit more built for the NBA than Niang was. I could see him maybe making a couple of years and being a decent bench player, but I don't think he could ever be a starter in the NBA.
Yeah, I feel like he's undersized for his what his college role was. Like I feel like players like him in the NBA now are kind of like 3 and D guys. So if you're a really good shooter, you make it and you play good minutes. Kind of like you said, I don't know that he's gonna end up ever being a starter, but he could be one of those like key bench players. I think first round for him I would be a little surprised, even though there's our projections out there, but I think that would be huge if he got a first round contract. So never say never, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it'd help Iowa State, obviously, a little bit, even though I don't know how much help they need recruiting-wise with basketball, as TJ Altenberger is pretty much just owning Wisconsin on every recruit that comes out of there.
All right.
But then the other guy we're looking at is Mr. Lipsey, and Lipsey isn't on any of the projections or anything, or I think he's probably more of a D-League or a Europe guy. But I mean, you watch the film on Lipsey, and he's just gonna leave it all out there for you every time. So I think it'll be interesting to see if maybe late second round a team sneaks in, tries to just take a chance on him and see if they can get him, opposed to hoping he tricks them. But I think Lipsey will probably be undrafted.
Yeah, I feel like there's like you always try to compare like who's his size that is getting a lot of minutes or has had a long career. And I think when you're as short as he is, even though, like you said, like extremely good hustle and everything, unless you're like an elite shooter, there's not a great place for you because you can be an elite defender at his size, but like I don't know how much that translates to the NBA when everyone you're going to be guarding is going to be so much bigger than you. So like I don't think that carries as much like weight as it can in the college game, unfortunately for him. I think he's certainly going to get his chance. I don't know. I feel like he's not going to get drafted, which wouldn't be a huge surprise based on the mocks. But like you
Yeah,
said, he lays it all out there. It's more so just going to be like who takes a chance and then what role does he get? Or what, like, not only what role, but what does the team that signs him or drafts him give him a legit shot to like find minutes?
yeah. Are they signing him just to give him a chance, or are they signing him to see if he can mesh in with what they're looking for? And that's a very
Exactly.
interesting thing, because I mean, I think Lipsy will try to do anything he can to make a team. And being my favorite Iowa State player, I mean, I hope he does get a true shot at a team.
Yeah, I think he will, obviously. It's just a matter of like, if he's not getting what he wants, does he do what all the other good college players do and go to Europe route and just make as much money as he can while he's in his prime?
Yeah, and I mean, I think he probably would. And I know Malcolm Edgin, former Iowa State Big 12 Player of the Year, plays over in Europe, and he does pretty well. So I mean, it's nice to kind of still follow those guys and know that they're still playing basketball, even if it's not at the highest level in America.
Right. It's still, his leagues are still really, really good, but they just weren't able to make it in the league, which is like near impossible anymore.
Yeah, especially when you're an in-betweener like Edgem, or even like Lipsey's not really an in-betweener, but he's just too small to play at that high of a level with some of those point guards like Markel Fultz.
Exactly.
And I mean, Markel Fultz would just tower over him. Like, he would be no problem
Right.
for
And
him.
he's tiny and he hasn't exactly had a great career, and he was a number one pick, let alone like a late second or undrafted.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, Lipsey isn't really a shooter from deep, and I know the NBA lines of, what, 1 feet or 2 feet farther back than college. So I think that also, that's going to make it tougher for Lipsey to make a team.
Exactly. As much as you love him, I don't know that the NBA's in the cards for him.
No, but sadly, I do not think it is. Sadly, I do not think it is. But we will find out. I guess we'll report back with that data next week on how the NBA draft goes, and where Stirtz goes and his fit, and
And
Jefferson, what team he goes.
who gets picked first too. I mean, I feel like
Yeah,
there's a little drama as of Monday before the draft, but I don't
yeah, I
think you can
think
really go
Peterson.
right.
Yeah, last I knew,
Peterson's kind of
Peterson
gaining
picked up,
momentum.
which is kind of surprising because I've watched AJ Dubuisson and he is impressive. But again, watching somebody in college versus the NBA, there's a lot of people his size in the NBA already. There weren't that many people that had his size and ability in college of the teams he was facing until it became where he could just use that to dominate.
Right. AJ was able to physically impose his will on anyone, where in the NBA, I mean, I'm not saying he's easily guardable, but there's so many more people who are going to match up with that. And then, whereas Peterson, obviously, is shorter, he's even short for a two guard, but just an elite scorer at every level. And I think the NBA can fall in love with that. So I don't think you can go wrong either way. I just think Peterson, like the way his year at Kansas went with like character issues and like reliability. Obviously, I think he just wanted to get to the NBA, and that's why I didn't care about playing. But I don't know. I'd
Yeah,
be a little bit
injury,
hesitant.
yeah, I'm hesitant of Peterson just because of the whole injury thing and pulling himself out of games, like, just seems, I don't know, just kind of concerns me from a character standpoint.
Right.
But then we'll also see how the Bulls do. They have a couple draft picks, so that will be interesting as well.
Yeah, very excited. I think the Bulls are going to get Caleb Wilson. That just makes sense of who's going to be available at fourth. But if there was any way that any of those top three guys between Debanza and Darren Peterson and Cameron Boozer fall, that would like huge for the franchise. And then even that 15th pick, assuming they don't trade it or do anything with it, it's like that's such a good pick to add like legit depth. So yeah, I'm hoping. I don't know why I'm hoping this as a Bulls fan, but just please don't screw it up.
I kind of hope they get Boozer. I mean, I just feel like that would be kind of story arc because his father played for them for a few years, right?
Yeah, I just
So I
don't
think
think Boozer is gonna fall because man,
no,
Boozer
I
is
don't. I
like
don't think
so
he's gonna fall.
reliable.
Yeah, I think he could fall to 3. I don't think he's gonna fall to 5, sadly. But
Right.
a guy
So
can hope. A guy can hope.
yeah, just get Wilson because I think he is actually really good and physically he's unreal and athletically, and then see what happens at 15.
Yeah, and then also the other, I guess, thing that we can briefly talk about is the news from the Michigan college basketball coach going to the NBA.
Yeah, that what a crazy like news drop today. Like I think
9
people came
a.m.
out and said they saw it coming a little bit, like insiders. Which I mean, like that's not hard to see. Like if you win a championship and you're looking for the next thing to do, NBA is obviously an option. It's just feels like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Mavericks was a little bit questionable given issues with trading Luka, a few years ago and everything. I guess I have Cooper Flagler, but yeah, kind
Right.
of
I
iffy
think
there.
Well, I think with Cooper
I
Flag being
guess,
so young, and then maybe he's thinking like just building around that. He did his research because I don't think you just leave for nothing, especially when Michigan was going to be a Final Four preseason favorite again. So I just wonder though on the bigger scale if coaching college, especially at the highest level, has become like so crazy in terms of like no kind of like recruiting standards or anything that it's just easier to not have to do it, which is kind of sad because that means you're not going to retain the best coaches.
yeah, and I mean, again, as well, your brother, Jay Rico, texted me this morning about it, and I texted him back, man, Ben McCollum getting Andrew McCreever over Michigan, that really just must have sent May packing.
Yeah, we'll say that. But I mean,
Sorry, I don't know Joe.
it's just like, but
Go
that's
ahead.
like, it's a joke, but it's kind of real where like you can have this like really good depth piece for a championship team locked up, and then just a random team who still needs a star throws all their money they have at it. Next thing you know, it just like erodes your ability to get good depth.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. And I mean, and that's, before that wasn't really a thing because the NIL wasn't a thing. And now it's definitely, I think, a problem. They, people keep saying they want to put limits on it, but we know that's never going to happen at this point. It's too far gone.
Right. Yeah, I think it's just a new landscape, and once you open the doors to legally paying players, it just changes what matters, and some history and tradition, I think, just kind of goes out the window for better or worse. And you just see like certain coaches, even who are having success with it, like a May, clearly don't want to do it long term, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just you look at Jay Wright got out pretty quickly
Right.
from Villanova. I mean, you just look at Roy Williams got out fairly quickly, before that all went down, and
Coach K.
Coach K. Yeah,
Boeheim's out, like all those big guys.
yeah. So I think, yeah,
Saban from football. I just think when you see that every big program now is almost being like demanded to have a GM, like that significantly changes what the college programs used to be. And like it used to be the head coach was everything, and maybe like the athletic department or the athletic director. Now, like your GM is going to be a huge role of building a team. So coach is still the figurehead for now, but I don't know. It could be like the NBA here soon where it's just like not only who's your coach, but who's your GM.
yeah. There's so much behind the scenes now, more involved, where the coach maybe doesn't really feel in control of it almost, and that's why they move on to a place where they can have more control.
Exactly. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see too what happens with Michigan's players because they have that like transfer window and everything with the coaching change. But they obviously were a super talented roster. So I'm sure guys are going to either be poached or try to get poached.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there, and I think that will do it for the Rational Homer this week. Thank you for joining me again, Andrew.
Thanks as
And
always for having me.
yeah, the draft goes well tomorrow, and we'll talk about it next week. And remember, if you have any questions or comments or suggestions for sports-related content you'd like me to react to, send an email to rationalhomer@gmail.com.